everyone, welcome to Edify Beauty. This is Michelle Farley, and today we are going to be talking about some more things that you may want to know when coloring your hair at home. So the other day we did a video about how to color your roots. If you are wanting to color your hair all the way through, like pull it all the way through the ends, I would still do the root application the same way, so you can check out that video. But then you can flip your head upside down and you can either scoop color out of the bowl with the gloves on and kind of work it through your hair. Like I would do this in the bathtub, obviously, so that you're not getting color all over, but kind of massage that color all the way through. You can also go through and actually apply everywhere, but you want to make sure that it's evenly applied. So if you are doing the work it in method, make sure that you're really kind of rubbing that hair in between your hands so that you're getting it nice and coated, and kind of pull that hair apart so that you can make sure that all of that color is nice and saturated in there. Now, some things to know about pulling color through. You're not going to want to do this on every application because the color will just continue to build up on itself, and then you're going to wind up with this really dark color on the ends, especially if you're doing box color. I don't know if you have experienced this yourself or if you've ever seen those people who are walking around with kind of like reddish or bright colored looking roots, and then the rest of their hair looks really, really dark. A lot of times that's because people are picking a color that is lighter than their natural hair shade. And so that color is actually lifting their hair and lightening it a little bit and then depositing that color over the top of it. But the color that's already been deposited on the end doesn't lift the way our natural hair does. So color doesn't make color any lighter. So if there's already color deposited here, that color is just going to deposit over the top. So this is where you're getting lightening and deposit on the roots, but you're only getting deposit on the ends, which is where you get that two-tone, not what you're looking for. So again, be sparing when you're running color through. You're only going to want to do that like every 3 or 4 times, just as it fades. And something else that you should consider is looking for a semi or a demi-permanent color to run through your ends, not a permanent color, because permanent color is really needed when you're needing to cover your grays, because permanent color covers gray 100%. So it's going to actually get rid of those gray guys and hide them. If you're not using permanent color, you use like a demi-permanent or a semi-permanent color, it just lays on top of the hair. So it's not going to be hiding the grays, and it's not going to be lightening the hair at all. So semi-permanent, demi-permanent are good to help refresh the end color because it doesn't need to cover gray because that's already been done in your previous process. And it's a lot gentler on the hair. So a lot of times our hair opens up, like if you think about shingles on a roof, that's the cuticle. So as the hair color is working, it's opening those shingles so that the hair color can go inside. But once those have already been opened, they never completely compact down. So when you're constantly pulling permanent color through, it's opening and closing, opening and closing, opening and closing, and that's when you get those fried, blown out ends. Demi-permanent and semi-permanent just lay on the top, so it's not actually opening that cuticle, it's laying on that top, so it's not going to be creating the same kind of damage that you're getting. So those are just a couple things when you're shopping for your colors to be paying attention to. Something else to know about semi, demi, and permanent color. If you are a blonde or you have hair that, again, has been previously lightened or that cuticle is pretty open, semi-permanent colors will stick in your hair for a lot longer than the normal person. So most semi-permanent say, will wash out of hair in 5 to 7 washes. That is the case for most normal healthy hair. If your hair, again, is damaged or it is a really light blonde color, that will probably stick around for a lot more than just 5 to 7 shampoos. Demi-permanent, again, that's going to have a little bit of a gray coverage. It's going to last longer than semi-permanent. You're probably looking at 4 to 6 weeks before that starts to fade off. But again, it's not opening that cuticle quite as much. The color is going in just to that top layer, not all the way in like permanent color does. So it's a little bit gentler. It's a great process if you're going darker. Demi-permanent just deposits, so it's not going to have a lightening effect. So if you're going darker than your normal shade, I generally suggest doing a demi-permanent as opposed to a permanent, and then you don't have a line of demarcation. The only time I suggest going into the permanent color is if you have gray and you need to cover it completely. So that's some clarification on the different color types. Some other things that I wanted to say was If you're doing your hair at home during this quarantine time, but you normally go see a stylist, a couple things that I would suggest that you keep in mind as you're playing with your hair at home to make it easier to transition when you get back into the salon is try to stay away from hennas. Hennas are very unpredictable, so it may look nice when you first do it, but if you want to change your hair color later down the road, it can be kind of hard to get those tones out, and it's very unpredictable. So a lot of stylists won't even touch your hair if they know that there has been henna on it, because when they're lightening it doesn't react the way that hair naturally reacts, and it doesn't react the way most hair color or hair lightener reacts. So you get a lot of inconsistent results, and it can be very, very difficult to correct. So another thing to be cautious of is going red. If you are a very light-haired color, so I would say like a dirty blonde or lighter, you're probably not going to want to go red unless you're ready to actually commit to red, and that's something that I would let your stylist help you do, because it's very difficult to get those red dyes out of your hair. And with us not knowing what you're using at home, maybe you're using a metallic dye or something that's going to be very difficult for us to remove safely. They also leave a lot of brassiness. So if you like to be more of a platinum blonde or an ashy blonde, and you decide that you want to try something fun and new and you want to go red for a little while, getting back there without having any of those brassy orange tones is going to be very difficult. So I'm not discouraging you from going red. It's just if you're one of those lighter colors, I would do one of the temporary shades, do a demi-permanent, or wait and talk to your stylist about it, because it's something that, again, could be very costly to change down the road. It could be very time consuming to change down the road, and it could be very damaging to your hair. So just something to be cautious of as you're thinking through what are some other things you could be doing with your hair. Also, I've been seeing a lot of rainbow colors. Lots of people are going out and they are dyeing their hair all sorts of bright fashion shades. A couple things for you to know about the fashion shades. One, you have to either already start with very light hair, or you have to lighten the hair first and then deposit the fashion colors for them to be bright and vibrant. So if you have dark hair like me, and I put on a fashion shade, it is not going to come out vibrant. The color doesn't just magically change. There's a process. So that's something to keep in mind. Also, keep in mind the color wheel. You know, the primary colors and then the secondary colors and where they lay. So, you know, red, blue, and yellow are the primary colors, and then the secondary colors are what is going to be canceling out those tones. So if your hair is yellow and then you put a blue on top of it because you want it to look blue, what you're probably going to wind up with is a little bit of a greenish tinge, because that yellow and that blue, as we know, mix together and make green. So when you are wanting to get your hair to a fashion shade, your hair color really needs to be kind of like a very, very pale yellow, almost like the inside of a banana. That's going to help you prevent getting weird, wonky tones. And again, if your hair is not already really light or it's very compromised, it's something that, again, I would suggest doing with a professional, because they can kind of baby your hair through this process rather than you winding up with an accidental chemical haircut. So those are just a couple things that I had for you to keep in mind while you are coloring your hair at home. If you have any questions, if there's anything that you are trying to do at home that you would like some suggestions or some tips about, please comment down below. Share this video with your friends that you know are trying to attempt hair color at home, and I hope you got something out of this. Please subscribe to our channel, and I hope you guys are having a beautiful day.